Hello and welcome back into the post-game show here live from Crusader Stadium. Final score here in Belton, Texas. Bastrop 69-42 win. What a performance we've seen here put on by Gary Jefferson Jr. Here today, Rock. And moving on to the next round, as you just stated, going to be really, really fun to see that matchup next week with them and Randall as well. But there's a couple teams left in the high school football playoffs out of this Centex area as we transition and go live here on Centex Sports Network. La Vega being one of those teams. They took out Silsbee last night. Whitney still moving on in 3A Division I. But we saw a lot of powerhouse teams or teams that have been dominant all year long fall this past weekend in Central Texas. Still have some going, though.
Yeah, you have the old faithful, La Vega Pirates, but it's been a bloodbath in Central Texas this week. And usually you can expect this. The first round, there's going to be a few teams, some teams eliminated. But the second round is when all the riffraff has been sorted out. And then in the second round, you start separate the men from the boys, so to speak. And this is one of those games that we had the fortunate enough to call this game on NFHS. Mm-hmm. And this was a really, really good game considering the score. There was no shortage of excitement. No. University was able to score the football. As you can see, they put up 42 points, but they had no idea of how to stop Bastrop and Gary Jefferson Jr. He had a tremendous day, scored 6 or 7 touchdowns, ran for over 300 yards. Again, this game here was a symptom of a well-coached team playing a bunch of very good athletes, and the well-coached team won out today.
Yeah, they weren't able to overcome some mistakes. They weren't able to overcome, obviously, Gary Jefferson Jr. As I see one of their 4-star players that didn't even play in this game sitting out over there on crutches in Devontre Kirkland. This university team has stuff to look forward to next year. Yes, you lose London Smith, and we talked about the historic, great career that's literally going to go down in the history books for the University Trojans that he had. But you bring back a Savoy Nichols. You bring back Darius Thomas, your running back. You bring back a couple of these receivers, Phoenix, who got into the end zone earlier in this game. You bring back Devontre Kirkland, who had a torn ACL, who's also committed to Baylor. He's going to be coming back for his senior season as well. Lots to look forward to out of this university squad. It's not all lost after just losing this game here today. No, they won't want to hear that right now, but it's not all gone and not all to waste or in vain for this university squad as well. Looking forward, we got La Vega still going. We got Whitney still going. We've got Bremont still going. Mart is still going. Some of those old faithfuls, as you just talked about. If you look at any of those squads, who's got the best chance, in your opinion, to make that run all the way to state once again?
I think it goes back to what we witnessed last year by joining La Vega on their long run to the state championship game and came up a little short. I think La Vega has they have the ability to run the ball and also throw it. And most importantly, as we witnessed today, having a good to great defense gives you a chance in games like this. Mm-hmm. And let's be honest with you, Bastrop's defense was overmatched for the most part, I believe. But because they were able to get some stops very early in the game, it gave them a chance to get up early and then just hold on for the rest of the game.
And like you said, shout out to Coach Greedo, because that all points to coaching in my eyes. You know that these guys, they threw 2 picks in the end zone. So you put those touchdowns on the board, University scores 50-plus points. They still lose in this game, but they score 50-plus points. He knew defense is not going to be the way we're going to win this. Let's stick to our guns, and they had the biggest gun today, and he was wearing number 9 for Bastrop. As they're moving on to the next round in the playoffs as well, I'm like you, though. I agree with you. I think La Vega has the best chance to be able to make that state run once again. We know what these guys are made of. They'll be matching up against a Lamarck team that squeaked by China Spring 34-27. And we know La Vega destroyed China Spring as they played earlier on in the year. So I have to give that edge to La Vega going forward into this next game. We're talking high school football here, but looking a little bit on the college football side. Texas in a close game here. TCU in a close game versus U of H. Baylor loses to Arizona. They made the decision to keep their coach, Dave Aranda. You mentioned it on the broadcast, but since we switched over to Centex Sports, what do you think about Aranda keeping his job and then the performance of the Bears today, losing to Arizona?
So I think the performance, you can connect the performance they had today with keeping their coach. Mm-hmm. And let me put it like this. For the large majority of the game was very competitive. Baylor even controlled the action at some points in the game. But ultimately, they were outplayed as it got late. And again, I think it's indicative of the talent that Baylor has on their team, specifically defensively. Mm-hmm. You and I, at Big 12 Media Day, we saw how confident these guys were about what kind of defense they believed that they had. The confidence they showed us and what actually ultimately happened on the field was totally different. I feel that had to be demoralizing to them ultimately because they thought they had a top-notch defense, and it proved to not be the case.
Wasn't able to come out and execute anything on the defensive side. As you said, it was 21-17 going into the fourth. The game ended up being 41-17. So that just shows you one team had it going, especially in the fourth. One team was organized and executing. It's going to be an interesting ride over these last couple of weeks going into the offseason for this Baylor staff. What decisions are made, what cuts are made, who stays, who goes.
I know ultimately Coach Aranda is responsible, right? But in the era of NIL, you cannot relinquish the responsibility of the administration and the supporters and the boosters of providing enough financial support to the football team and the recruiters to be able to go out there and make competitive offers to young men who are talented. You cannot depend on recruiting Baylor guys that want to be here. All those buzzwords about I can't go out and get the most talented guys. I got to get the guys that want to come here.
Yeah.
No, if you're a program that aspires to be a top-tier Power 4 program, you have to go out and spend money, i.e. Ohio State, i.e. Texas A&M, i.e. Texas. Yeah. You understand? There's nowhere around that. Mm-mm. There's no way that a coach, I don't care if it's Vince Lombardi, I don't care if it's Nick Saban, I don't care if it's Mike Ditka, Tom Landry, or
Bear Bryant, whoever you want to
or Joe Paterno.
Yeah.
In this era, if you don't have the talent to go out and compete every week in and week out, you are not a top-tier program. Yes, can you upset a program here and there? Absolutely. But to go out and play 12 games, right? Mm-hmm. Possibly 13, and play competitively in all 13 games, you're going to have talent, not only because of to compete, but you're going to be able to have to survive injury. There's going to be attrition. There's going to be all these things. And, again, the most recent example of how the economics of football, right, are directly related, how you fund your program from an NIL standpoint dictates your outcome. We look no further than our friends up in Lubbock,
yes,
and see Texas Tech, who came in announcing that they were going to invest, they were going to buy, they were going to purchase. They weren't going to recruit. They were just going to buy the best players that wanted to go to Tech and look at their results. Again, you can't argue with the results, right?
Not at all.
And I'll ask you, as a Baylor loyalist and fan, Jalen, did Baylor go in to this past offseason with the same attitude as a Texas Tech?
Absolutely not. We got a chance to talk to guys from both teams, both sides. We saw them go and get a Cole Wineski from a North Dakota State that we got a chance to interview. We saw them go and get a David Bailey from Stanford that was the number 1 DN in the transfer portal. No, I like some of the additions that Baylor made, but they were safe additions. Nothing about what Texas Tech did was safe. It all blows up in your face if it doesn't work. So far, it's worked. They tried it in softball. It worked. They said we're going to take the same game plan and put it in football. It's working. Baylor's got to do the same thing. You're coming off a year last year where you win 6 in a row to win it. Then people say they kind of saved Aranda's job. Now you're in this year. You're struggling to get a 6th win on the season to even be bowl eligible. Things definitely have to change in Baylor Nation. It won't be the head coach, though. But with that being said, a new athletic director with Mac Rhodes now stepping down. There's going to be a new athletic director. Do you think they'll get a guy that will push that narrative forward at Baylor?
I think they have to get somebody who is familiar with working a NIL program. I would look at the guy who is second in command over at Texas Tech. I would look at the guy who's second in command over at Ohio State. Teams that have executed even a guy at Oregon who's run a program, who's been part of that program in Oregon. Because nowadays you need somebody who can go in and fundraise and also generate NIL opportunities for these student athletes. At the end of the day, I'll say this, and God, people may disagree. You can't get rid of a coach if you haven't invested in your roster. If you haven't invested in your roster, getting rid of your coach is just a reactionary measure just to say you did something. And again, I told you off air, in my opinion, I'm glad Coach Aranda will get another opportunity to coach here at Baylor. Not because of he had a great season this year, but I believe that anybody that is in anybody that you would want to hire, you're going to require you're going to expect that guy to win, but you can't expect him to win with less than elite talent. In order to win big, you have to have elite talent. In order to get elite talent, you have to be willing to invest, and that's something that Baylor has been reluctant to ever since this era of transfer portal NIL has come to play. I talked to some Baylor recruiters very early in the process. I'm talking about going back to 2021, right? And I'm saying, hey, how are you guys going to deal with this? Oh, we're going to get Baylor guys. We're going to get guys that want to be here at Baylor. We're going to get guys that meet our profile. We're going to get high character, whatever. All that is saying to me is you want guys to play for free. Yep. And that's not what I'm saying. Again, you can go out there and get those guys, and you'll be able to upset a team here and there. But if you want to compete on an elite level, there's no way around putting a bag together and offering those guys who are elite talents the bag. You're gonna and accept this, Jalen. You're gonna hit on some guys, and you're gonna miss on some guys. You got to remember. They paid Wisniewski a bag, and he wasn't playing early in the year. But there was a guy playing in front of him. A guy gets hurt. You put him in the game, and he's out there balling. Right. So sometimes you're gonna have a guy that may not hit right away. But it builds your depth. It builds your overall roster. They recruited 4 pass rushers, 5 DBs, 6 linebackers. You understand? They went and got linebackers when they had probably the best linebacker in college football already.
Jacob Rodriguez,
Jacob Rodriguez.
And Ben Roberts,
And Ben Roberts. So they went out there and fortified that roster, and look what's going to happen now. I think if they happen to make it to the Big 12 championship game, they're going to be favored against anybody in the Big 12. Anybody.
And I think probably a first-round matchup, depending on who they get, they'll probably be favored in that one again. I'm thinking they're probably going to get a first-round bye in that matchup. But you spoke to it well. You have to pay the bag at this point. No more buzzwords, as you said, of we're going to get our guy, and that sounds like 2006 Midway getting ready to play Waco High with Jared Salubi and all these. Oh, we're going to be disciplined when we play. Discipline not going to help you from this 250 yards you're about to get. Baylor doesn't need to do any more of those. Hey, guys, we had a lot of fun here today at Crusader Stadium. We're getting ready to get out of here live in Belton, Texas. Next week, we'll be back here. We'll talk about all of this high school football. We'll definitely talk some more about this Baylor topics as well as we jump on Centex Primetime. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in with us here today. Signing off, Jalen Gillis, Rocky Miller from Crusader Stadium. We'll see you guys next time. Everybody have a great weekend.